freedom and settling, labeling your partner, and I'm gonna go with narcissist. Submitting to your husband, triggers versus cognitive distortions, guys. Ooh, this might trigger you and put you into your own distortion. 90% of marriages fail. Freedom and settling. Welcome to the Morrow Marriage podcast, guys. And today you might notice we are not in the studio. JP, I hope you're cleaning up this audio for us. We had that damn flood and it is hot. Hotter than Texas, as my wife likes to say.
Hotter than Texas out there.
And it needs to be repaired in there, guys. So we're here. Appreciate the grace. Now, freedom and settling. Before I get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, I want to be very, very clear about a couple things. The first thing is we obviously see far too many people who throw boundaries down a little too fast.
Oh, right away.
Yeah, like they're in a program and so they can't handle the disrespect and they quit. This is male, this is female, this is stupid, okay? What you have to understand is, we've said it a lot before, I'm gonna say it again, I'm prefacing this episode with this very important understanding that you didn't break it overnight. Some of you guys will be in for the long haul here, okay? The example
What do you mean, in for the long haul? Married forever like us?
Of course, but what I mean is, like, it's gonna be the long haul, the hell. You're gonna have to deal with the shit.
Oh,
there's no magic fucking
haul.
pill. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes you guys, yeah, you're lucky, okay? Let me give you a breakdown. If you are like roommates, that doesn't mean it's gonna go faster. If you are bitter enemies, that doesn't mean it's gonna go slower. What it means is, if you show up and have expectations and entitlement, and I mean, this guy called me this week going, well, don't I deserve X, Y, and Z as a husband, as a man? And I said, well, do you think you've been doing? And I listed off like 28 fucking things. And he said, no. And I said, well, then no, fucker, you don't.
Did you say it just like that?
No, not to him, because he's a crybaby. But I said, no, then you don't deserve it. Okay? Now, when you do deserve it, you are truly free. Okay? Here's the difference. He asked, how do I know if I'm in the nice guy triangle? And I said, well, the last three things that you guys got into it about, you disagreed on. Okay? When you reacted, meaning you didn't respond the way I teach, one of them I saw video, so I know for sure. And like, do you think you responded in anger? Reacted in anger? And he said, yes. I said, then you're in the fucking triangle. If you're acting in a negative emotion, that's not the true emotion. Okay, let me give you an example. If he felt really lonely, okay? At no point of feeling lonely and abandoned, or wherever this goes, do you lash out in anger. That's a sad feeling.
Yeah, at no point should you. But as all of you know, at every point you do.
100%.
That's why anger is called a secondary emotion, because it's rooted in something else and it's what presents.
That's right.
To the public.
So this man is asking about, well, shouldn't I get a whole bunch of these things? Like, isn't this what a marriage is? And I said, but let's break it down. What kind of man are you showing up as? And you see, if anger is controlling you, you don't have freedom. You are so deep in the triangle, whether you're a man or you're a woman, you know that I think there's nice girls too, and everybody goes through these highs and lows. And if you're not in control, the emotional regulation that Kathryn talked about in a recent episode, then you're in the triangle. You're victimizing yourself and you're acting in a way that's irresponsible for your future, for your marriage, and certainly not someone you should be proud of. So if we know that, then are you actually settling? The answer is fucking no. I was waiting to hear from you guys. And surprise, surprise, no one said anything.
Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Susie, you know the answer. Like, little Jonathan,
honestly,
what do you think?
Honestly, guys, you have to think about it that real. If you are, and anger is going to be the easiest one. Mm-hmm. I know, you know what I mean? But like, if you're acting in an emotion that is not real, we talked about the Gloria Wilcox's, and she's a co-collaborator on it, but the feelings wheel, something we both teach in our programs. You need to know what you feel, you know? And you know, where I'm gonna go with this next is, like, I did a lesson with the men yesterday on processing, right? Because so many of you guys are processing what these feelings are and all your thoughts and acting in those negative emotions, okay? And you're processing with your partner, which is not really their responsibility.
And you're probably not actually processing. Just because you're talking about it with your partner, trying to figure out what you're feeling, that doesn't mean that you're processing. Saying something out loud and thinking out loud doesn't necessarily mean that you're processing. You could just be thinking out loud. You could just be having a conversation. It doesn't actually mean that you're identifying your feelings and processing it the way that you need to.
No, and the reason we know that is where I went with the lesson is when I used some of their examples of recent things with their partner, okay? what do we find? They were acting in these emotions that were not what they were truly feeling. It may have started with, one of the examples was sex, which it commonly is, right? If we know that you just feel detached from your wife, and then you're acting in a way that you're pacing back and forth, that's not bringing you fucking closer. So you are not settling, you are creating the life that you don't want, which means you are not fucking free. Okay? Now, I want to get to where I really wanted to go with this today, because, we teach this program called Momentum, Path to Freedom. If you know the story about me identifying who I am, I'm not the asshole I used to be. I'm a brand new man. I destroyed the old me, okay? And I'm a brand new motherfucking guy. We laugh about the old guy, okay?
Right down to the new name.
Right down to the new name, okay? So if we understand that, well, what I walk you through in my book or on the podcast here, or even when I talk to men, I walk you through my accidental journey, because that's what it was. In learning to grow up, let's just summarize it like that, I found out who I was as a man, okay? And the more I taught the world, the more I showcased our story, the more I reflected, the more I coached men. You learn faster when you teach. The more I learned, the more I innovated, the more that we innovated, the closer that we became. My identity, the way that I found myself, was fucking accidental, you guys. Okay? And I don't hide that from anybody.
It was accidental, but you teach it with intention.
We teach it with intention now, okay? And so sometimes I'll throw in ways that I did along the journey, because the documentation is there. It proves the journey is there. Things like when Kathryn said, I could see something was up there, but you turned it off real quick. What's going on? What's different? Well, I'm doing this, and this different. She's like, whoa, it's a part of our story. So I can give you guys those steps. But when she says we're intentional about teaching it now, we have this program that we create, or we partnered with James, who created this program, and we're mentoring men and women through this program. And it blends so beautifully with the Reset or Kathryn's White Picket Fence Project, because you essentially get to just copy and paste how you're supposed to be a man or woman from learning from us. And as you go through the steps and you learn who you are, you become free. Meaning you can't copy and paste Kathryn and Cass. You're not fucking us, okay? But there is parts of us that you can incorporate, bringing in your identity, and you become free. Why do I say free? I say we don't sell saving marriages. We sell freedom. Because when you're free, you're not coming to me with a question like, well, how do I know if I'm in the triangle? And you're like, don't I deserve more? No, because you can reflect and go, shit, man, these 28 things that Cass just talked about, I don't even talk about it. Those are all on the list right now. As he's talking, you wouldn't even ask the fucking question. You'd say, Cass, I'm struggling with this, and this. Because when I say, what are you struggling with? You all attach it to your spouse. Well, my wife, blah, blah, blah. Well, my husband and I. Well, no, what you're struggling with is the fucking tool and the person that you need to become.
Which isn't a tool until
you, unless you have it healed.
Unless you have it healed, and then you might be a tool.
I was a fucking tool, but
I've been one too.
Excuse me. So when you recognize this, that's why we say, who am I standing in my own strength? Okay. Then we give tools that we've created, or tools that we borrowed, or tools that we blended from our world and from other worlds, and I mean resources. Okay. And then we
not to be confused with alternate realities.
No, because that can be a problem too. You got tools for that too.
Don't borrow tools from there.
So, but then you can start to realize you're so free. Now, here's an example of being...
And for women, strong. You use the word freedom with men, which really resonates with men. I use the word strength and confidence, standing in your own strength,
it's all
which
the same
is
shit,
freedom.
Though. It's all the same shit.
It's a different way to look at it.
Different ways. Just we speak differently to people, right? But here's the thing.
What?
Here's an example of what it truly means to be free. So we go back to how I started this episode. Everybody wants to put a boundary in so fucking fast, right? Oh, I've tried.
I deserve this.
I've tried. I've done this and that. My favorite thing, you've heard this on the podcast. Now it's up to $630,000 that we spent to grow ourselves and to learn and to become better. And if we are still learning, then how the fuck can you say that you've tried everything? If we are still creating systems and you haven't tried them, you can't say that. So check yourself. But anyways, I digress. So people are in such a hurry to do these boundaries, okay? Let me tell you how this goes when you become free. You become so patient and loving for your spouse. You understand that everything led to this moment. that you're not angry. You don't meet.
He pointed at me when he said that.
Yeah.
You're not angry.
Not angry. So what happens is this, that when we talk about you can't meet rage with rage, you can't meet anger with anger, contempt with contempt, resentment with resentment, because then you're not getting what you want. You can't.
You can do it, but it just makes things worse. It doesn't bring you in the direction you want to go. You think in the moment that it will, because you're giving back what you're being served. Oh, if he's going to treat me this way, I'm going to treat him poorly, or I'll show him that resentment, that vindictiveness. So you can reply to contempt with contempt, but it just
doesn't work.
It grows exponentially that way.
And it shouldn't work for you because you said you wanted more. If you want more, it's not dependent on how they treat you, ever. Ever. It's literally, what can I do differently? Because if they clearly don't want more in that moment, just say that fucking moment. Don't say they never, don't use absolutes. They don't want more than me. That's fucking you up. Focus on you. And here's an example. Here's that example, this extreme example. We've got 2 guys right now. Okay, I haven't been with them the whole time, but one of them, like 2.5 years.
Can I pause for just a second?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you for talking about absolutes, because if you guys don't know, he was the king of absolutes.
What?
It's impossible. You never.
Impossible.
You always. That was his go-to.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the guys that you were going to talk about.
I've got 2 guys. One's about 2 years. One's about 1 year. They have not worked with me that whole time, but you know, really, a lot of times men come to us and they've done all this work, okay? They tried this program, that program, they read these books, they've been going to therapy for years, and then they come to us and they got the missing pieces, okay? So things start to move, but it doesn't necessarily move as fast as you want, like I talked about in the beginning of the episode, okay?
Especially if you're in and out.
That's right. But if you are free, okay, you remember why you did this in the first place. This is, first of all, the gratitude you need to have for your partner, because otherwise you wouldn't have tried to grow. Let's fucking face it. Most people don't grow until they hit some version of their rock bottom. Let's get fucking real.
Even if you're not that bad. I would never have grown if he didn't bring the ugliest parts of me out, and he brought the ugliest ones out. They were in there already though. But if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go and fix those.
That's
I call
right.
them the prickly parts, shaving off your prickly parts.
So we got this guy whose wife is like she's really been like a child for a good 2 years at least. You know, I'm not going to go further than that right now with timing, but long enough is what I'm saying. That's like a year with me, a year on his own, a year and a half on his own or whatever, okay? Hiding, doing whatever she wants, doesn't do any laundry, doesn't cook, fucking goes to work, comes home and shuts herself out from the rest of the family.
Doesn't take care of the children.
Doesn't take care of the children.
I'm thinking of.
Nothing. Now, come on, that's gross. It's fucking gross. But here's the thing. This man married her. This man said, I do. He's not leaving her or putting a boundary in place in a mad panic and a rush because he's entitled. See, freedom dismisses your entitlement.
Oh, I like that.
Okay? Entitlement. Thank you, baby. Entitlement is just premeditated fucking contempt. That's it.
Ooh,
that's not mine. That's not mine though. Chris Williams quoted somebody. I can't remember who it was, but the other one was mine. I heard a
saying once. You can say so and so sometimes says, and then eventually you get to what I always say is. So the more you say it, then it's something that you always say.
That's right. Yeah. But yes, if you understand that, then you realize that you're not free. That's why you're still affected by their mood. See, this man literally could have gone with so much anger and rage. How dare you? Like, come on. How dare you talk to your daughter that way? How dare you not contribute to this house? Well, you're kind of acting like a child. He could have even said these things like the way I would teach him. It'd be nice. Hey, babe, I need you to join me. You know, which he did. You know, he keeps journals like crazy. And there's like 800 bids in the last fucking year with me. Wow. When I taught him what bids were, when he thought he was bidding and he was being passive aggressive, when he didn't realize wit was a weapon, all these little things got cleaned up and he was just loving her. And now we're going to put a boundary in place. Now it's time. You know what? He wasn't ready. I had to talk him into it. I had to tell him, because freedom will get you to settling. And that's the point you need to be when you want to be ready for a boundary. When you recognize I'm settling and it doesn't have negative emotions attached to that. It has zero negative emotions attached to that.
Freedom can lead to settling, but ultimately freedom doesn't.
Exactly. I'm not trying to say that because obviously nobody wants to settle.
No.
What I'm trying to say is you become that patient. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not about setting boundaries.
If I keep doing what I'm supposed to do, it's going to work. You see, you have faith in yourself. You don't cling on to hope. You stop fucking all this praying and praying and praying, the 3 boats parable, right? Oh, you guys fucking praying all the time. Well, no, I don't need you to pick me up. I've been praying to God. Boat 2 comes by. No, thank you. I've been praying. Boat 3 comes by. No, thank you. I've been praying. And he says, God, I've been praying. Why aren't you helping me? He said, I fucking sent you 3 fucking boats, you dumbass. See, you guys got to get to fucking work and stop clinging to fucking hope and start focusing on faith in yourself that only comes from freedom. And then you'll know if you're settling. Or you might need a reality check.
And at that point, to circle back on the title of boundaries, when you've given it that much time, eventually you can get to the point to bring your story home. 2 years later, when you figured out what you need and what you want, and that you are the man or the woman that you want to be and that you're created to be, then you can set a boundary. And
here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about this. See, you guys are all thinking about boundaries like ultimatums. That's it. I'm done. I gave it 2 years. If I have to write it out, that's too long. Even if some of you can even last that long, because most people won't. You fucking quit. But let's just say, you know what's going to happen? You know what the next step is? Guess what? More patience, because you hope. Now you can have your hope again. You hope that their rock bottom will get them to work, and now you got to lift them for a little while because they're way behind you. Mm-hmm. But who did you sign up to be? A halfway partner for part of the life, or did you sign up for fucking life and eternity?
Eternity.
You got that right, baby.
Yep.
You guys got to start thinking a little bit more clearly. All right. See you next time.
Bye.